that idea of the necessity of rapid learning is becoming true in almost every occupation today, including software, including physicians. I think every field is rapidly changing so fast that, the whole idea of college is like you learn these skills like a tradesman, and then you apply those skills in the job force. And I feel like now, I think even I see this at the college level, but the shift is like changing from, instead of like learning these facts, it's like learning how to learn.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I realize I need to develop now in the last few years. And I've been trying to improve on that skill as well, because I feel like, looking at the way the world is now, I think the winners of the next generation will be the people who know how to learn. How's it going, Andrew?
Pretty well. How are you?
Doing good. What's your plan for today? On the gym?
After this, gym, and then I'm gonna study with a friend.
For what? Midterms next week?
Yeah, midterm on Monday.
Which one?
Metabolic responses to exercise.
Is that a whole class? Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, how's life been treating you this term? Anything new?
I mean, this term, I think it's been going pretty well. Compared to last term, I have more exams, but I think that I like that more. I think last term I switched to liking presentations more, but then after the end of last time I was like, do I actually like that? Not really, no.
Really? Why's that?
Because like with presentations, there's a lot more, I guess, build up. There's a lot more like time needed to be invested in the presentations themselves. You need to like practice it. Whereas like with exams, it's like you just learn the material, and then you just take the exam.
Yeah. So it's less stressful. You kind of just have a clear task you have to do and you get it done, and it's more efficient.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm like the complete opposite. I'm just really bad at absorbing a lot of information that's very mundane. Turn on a little bit more. Like if I have to absorb like a chemistry textbook or something and take an exam, like I will find that really hard.
Yeah.
But if it's something like a project I have to work on, like I enjoy that a lot more, because it's like, working with people, like different stages to it. But I don't know, something about an exam, it's just like I'm not the best test taker probably.
Yeah.
I think memorizing has always been a struggle for me. So, but yeah, I have one midterm next week, and then it's for German fairy tales, so that's gonna be.
Oh, your German 3D6.
Yeah, have you taken that?
I took it. Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I mean, I took it primarily because a friend of mine was like, I'm going to take this, take it with me. I was like, sure. I don't know, it did not interest me.
I mean, fairy tales are interesting to read.
Yeah.
Like, I only read one of them, I'll be honest. But there's something that's enjoyable about reading it, because it really shows you what humanity is capable of in terms of story making. And I don't know, those stories are really, they kind of paint the world in such a beautiful way. But the whole idea of reading all these like random articles about people analyzing them, that's really boring to me. And just a brute memorization of these random fucking facts, like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna lock in for the rest of the day tomorrow. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a push day.
It is. It is indeed a push day.
Also, I should ask you, since you've taken this class before, what's the midterm like? Because they barely give us any information, and I'm kind of relying on just kind of what they gave me. But do you remember what it was like?
I mean, I didn't really pay attention. At the time, I don't think, like, I'm not sure if ChatGPT was released or not.
What year was this?
2 years ago? No, it definitely was.
It was definitely there.
It was that, but yeah, I definitely didn't use it. I think that if I took it again, I would use it. Because I don't remember the exams being, like, very hard. There were some questions where I didn't know anything whatsoever, so I called up my friend and was like, hey, please help me. But yeah, I would. Yeah, if I went back, I would probably just ChatGPT it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing for like the quizzes. I don't know if I should say this live, but I think that what they told us at least is that they take all the questions from the quizzes and put them on a midterm. Was it the same for you back then? If that's the case, then I can just memorize all the answers, and that's not too difficult for me.
Yeah, that could. Yeah, it's if it's not the same, then it's definitely like inspired by them.
Okay, yeah, that should help, because I feel like midterms are. I like problems. I've realized now, I think this term, that I'm really good at like problem solving. So if it's like a physics midterm, math midterm, like I prefer that than like something that's related to memorization, even including German fairy tales. But I don't know. I guess with time in college, you gotta get clarity with what you want to do with life. So that's kind of cool.
If you like puzzles, I'd recommend Orgo.
Orgo?
Yeah.
That's also memorization, no?
It's not.
No?
It's like it. The memorizing part is primarily just like principles, and then the real fun to me at least is like just using the principles to solve puzzles.
And what kind of puzzles?
So like every question in Orgo is basically a puzzle. It's like okay, it's like besides like I think if you in Orgo 1 you have to go over the basics, so like the learning that part is like obviously you can like pretty much all memorization, but later on it goes into more like okay, if you have this molecule with these reagents, how will that like what compound will you form, and furthermore like what's the reaction that will get there, right? So it's like
I think that's hard because it's so like unintuitive to me. Understanding how it works. I guess chemistry made the least sense to me because it's hard to believe that it's true. That's been my struggle. Same thing in biology, but I think a lot of biology is also like broader picture stuff that I can kind of understand.
Yeah.
But 1 second it's like this is a cell and this is what type of shit it does. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like cap.
Yeah, it's like
kind of hard to believe.
Yeah, it's hard to believe because you can't really see it.
Yeah. Anyways, you're a kinesiology major. You have 1 more year left here. What do you want to do with kinesiology? I don't know if we talked about it.
Well, I mean, so I'm graduating after this semester, and then the plan is to apply for med school. So I don't know if you're familiar with med school applications or not. So basically, they're like college apps. So when you apply, there is a year gap until you actually go to med school. So during this gap, I'm just gonna be staying here and just working.
So you're gonna apply at the end of your next year?
No, I'm applying this May.
This May.
So
when you say you have 1 more year, you're 1 more year here working.
Yes.
Oh, I see. So you're gonna work in the university.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know yet. So currently I've applied to be a personal trainer at the gym.
Nice.
So training is gonna start in like June, but I mean it's personal training, right? So like it's the hours are very variable. So I'm thinking about getting another job, and we shall see what I get.
That should be fun. Personal training sounds a lot of fun. I met one of my guys back at home podcasting next week is also becoming a personal trainer, and I think so was Charlie Copeland. So I think that from what I've heard at least, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take these exams and memorize all these things.
Yeah.
And it's like you're taking a whole course to get ready for this thing.
Yeah.
So have you started that yet, or is that going to be something you're doing next? Or
I've not looked into it yet. No.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
So most people who go to med school, are you like planning to become a doctor then, or okay?
Yeah.
Is there some relation between like the type of specialty with kinesiology in any way, or like,
I mean,
or just general physician?
I guess a little bit because, I mean, I decided to study kines primarily because it was the only interest I had coming into college, and then now it's evolved into I want to do preventative medicine, and the thing with like, fitness is that it's loosely aligned with that, so it's like kind of related.
Interesting. So when you say preventative medicine, so what falls into that umbrella? You know, exercise is one of them, but what are the other things you're going to be looking at once you move down that path?
So preventative medicine is primarily going into preventing chronic diseases. So so PRT has 4 major types. So there's heart disease or cardiovascular disease. There's neurodegenerative diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's. There is cancer, and finally there are metabolic diseases like diabetes. And so it's basically like trying to prevent all of those 4 things, which are the contributing factors to 8 out of the 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. right now.
Yeah, and what are some of the things you'll be doing in your job in terms of that? Are you gonna be like the main physician who's helping individual patients, or are you gonna be helping with the research side of it to tackle these big problems? Or
I mean, personally, I'm not like too interested in like doing research. I like learning more, but I don't. The process of doing research is like it's a lot of red tape. It's a lot of like trying to get funding for the things that you want to research about, and there's also like a lot of restrictions and whatnot. So like I think I'd get just too fed up with that process. It just wouldn't be worth it to me. So I think I'd just be much better aligned with doing the patient care side.
So be very specialized in terms of like, okay, you're working directly with the patient, and like based on his situation, you're gonna be helping out with. It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
When did you really get into this stuff?
I think when I first read Peter Thiel's book Outlive.
Yeah.
That was like 2 summers ago.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it is a good book.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. Well, I'm really excited to see what you'll be able to achieve. And I think it's really interesting situation in the world because I think there's definitely, I'm seeing a lot of individual actors making such great steps toward tackling these big problems, and I'm hoping that. Do you think there's a possibility that we can reach a state where it's almost like these problems no longer are so prevalent? Definitely at the rates we're seeing right now. Like I don't know the exact numbers, but it's almost like anyone who lives past 60, 70, 80 will at least get one of them. And I think it's crazy how high the number and the rates of these diseases really are. Like, do you think in the timeline, the next 20, 30 years, or even the next decade, like how can we move, or what do you think that we'll reach a state where these diseases will not be as prevalent as they are now?
That's a good question. I don't know, because on the one hand, we don't have any like cures for them. So like the big thing with cardiovascular disease is basically plaque development. Basically what ends up happening is that your arteries get narrower, and so that leads to insufficient oxygen delivered to your like tissues and organs. So if we were to develop technologies to basically reverse those, then you'd basically cure cardiovascular disease. Same thing for like dementia. If we find out like what's the real cause of that, which personally I subscribe to the metabolic hypothesis, where like the mitochondria in your neurons start to malfunction, and because of that then there's issues. So if you manage to solve that, then it's also okay, that's done as well. Same thing with cancer, right? So like if we're able to find the mechanisms as to why these things occur and be able to develop ways to reverse them, then it's like okay, we could possibly cure them. Right now I don't know if that's possible. It's more like we'll see. But for now it's more like, okay, we don't have the cures, so the best option is for prevention.
We have an idea with dementia now that there's some hypotheses that are starting to seem more likely as a culprit, such as metabolic diseases causing, or at least correlated with some of the dementia and neurodegenerative diseases. Do we have other like hints as to some of the missing pieces, at least steps in the right direction for things like cancer, cardiovascular disease, metabolic disease?
So for cardiovascular disease, it's primarily with your lipid carriers, so your cholesterol carriers, so like LDL primarily. In LDL subgroups, there is something called an ApoB, so apolipoprotein B. That has been seemingly more correlated than like just plain LDL. Furthermore, there's also another variant called Lp(a), and that is that is not really impacted by lifestyle. That's really only genetic. So those are the two main things, and then so if we were able to basically lower those, then that would basically the point. The reason why we want to lower those is basically because they end up, so they're carriers of cholesterol, and the thing is, basically they go into the epithelial cells. So epithelial cells are surrounding the artery, and so they go into like the walls of the artery, and what ends up happening is that they leave things stuck in the wall basically, and sometimes they can't get out, and what ends up happening is that like things form around it, and so a plaque forms which narrows the artery.
I see. So why are we increasing the prevalence of you said LDL is a bad type, right? Or why is the prevalence of that increasing in people? Or is it increasing, or has it always been this way?
So LDL primarily increases because of diet and lifestyle.
Okay.
But I would say primarily diet.
Yeah.
It's highly correlated with obesity, highly correlated with smoking, highly correlated with low levels of physical activity. So,
what's interesting with preventative care, I think we've talked about this before in the podcast, like that shift in ideology needed toward shifting away from like this pill will solve your problem to changing your entire lifestyle to solve the problem. But I think the whole interaction between patient and physician will be so different, and I've read about it a lot, but it's still hard for me to understand like how that shift will happen. Like what would a relationship with a physician and a patient even look like at that point? Like if it's something like diet and smoking that's causing a problem, like this is something that needs to start at like age 20, 30. Yeah. If anything, like how does a relationship change between physician and patient?
I mean, I think so. Currently, pretty much, you either go to the doctor if you have a problem, or if it's your annual checkup, right? I think that in a future where we are prioritizing preventive medicine, it'd be much more frequent checkups instead. So it's like, I don't know, maybe like monthly checkups. Like, okay, we had these goals, and how are you doing with those goals? Are you hitting them or not? And then if you aren't hitting them, how do we reformat the goals? How do we change your behavior, change the psychosocial components so that you can actually hit those goals?
Do you think people would buy it? Like, do you think people would actually commit to these weekly checkups, annual checkups that are necessary for this, because I think there's things we can change systematically and culturally, but I think getting people to adopt this new method of interaction with their doctor, like how do you think we can shift people's ideology at like at the patient level?
So with our current culture, I don't think it's really possible.
At all.
No. I mean, right now there is a slow cultural shift, and I think that culture is really the fundamental basis to changing behavior of like most people. And so right now there is a greater focus on like being more active, being more fit, just general fitness.
That's good. Yeah, I've seen that in the last 10 years.
So yeah, I mean, it's really just about changing the culture towards looking at physicians differently than just like your quick fix.
I feel like there's also become this shift, at least in people in our generation that are adopting health, adopting lifestyle. I think we almost look at the doctors as incompetent in a way. And we look at the doctor who is giving us all this advice and all this medicine, and we look at him and he's physically unfit. And I feel like because of that, there's this growing distaste toward these professionals, and I feel like that will be another interesting aspect of it all, because you have these people you have group A of people who are unhealthy, who put all their faith in the doctor, but then we have to change their perspective into like how they're supposed to interact with the doctor. But we have this people who don't even, this group B that looks at doctors as like incompetent, I shouldn't listen to them, I should do my thing. I feel like it'll become really messy with all these different peoples and their perspectives, and I feel like for both those groups of people, like what are the main cultural shifts needed to reach a state of the idealized world of medicine 3.0?
So I think you have a lot of great points. So I agree with you. Like a lot of doctors are incompetent, mainly not out of their own fault, but it's also kind of their fault, because the thing with medicine is that it's really fast. Like I think that like by the time you get out of medical school, like half the things you learn are now obsolete.
Yeah.
So like you need to, as a physician, you would need to basically just constantly be learning about the new things. And if you're not, then you're just going to be left behind, and you're just going to basically be giving care that just is not true anymore. Like it was true in the past, but we've found out that it just wasn't anymore. And so I think that with generations and like young people is that there's this general tendency to look at older people as less knowledgeable, and that might be a contributing factor. But I also do think that like it kind of is true in that if you're an older physician, typically you aren't as likely to adopt newer technologies, and therefore you're not likely to learn as much. Now this isn't like a blanket statement for everyone, but I do think that I think it's pretty common for that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. I feel like that idea of the necessity of rapid learning is becoming true in almost every occupation today, including software, including physicians. I think every field is rapidly changing so fast that, the whole idea of college is like you learn these skills like a tradesman, and then you apply those skills in the job force. And I feel like now, I think even I see this at the college level, but the shift is like changing from, instead of like learning these facts, it's like learning how to learn.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I realize I need to develop now in the last few years, and I've been trying to improve on that skill as well, because I feel like looking at the way the world is now, I think the winners of the next generation will be the people who know how to learn, because there's so much shit changing so fast. And I wonder, I don't know if it will slow down or not, but it's going at such a fast rate that it's hard to keep up, man.
Yeah. I think it will get faster and faster, and it might just keep getting faster, because
will it ever get slower?
There might be an asymptote at some point, but it's gonna be a crazy ride, given that we're literally gonna have basically like the perfect combination of generalist and specialist and AI models who literally know everything, and all you need to do is just ask them. It's like, why learn? Why learn any facts when you have that, except for learning how to discern information?
Well, yeah, the skills you need to learn will also change.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that will become so obsolete, like brute memorization and just even I feel like research can be advanced by AI in a way that there will be less that even we have to do as individuals, because the AI will be able to predict and even lead a lot of these research processes and do it almost on its own.
Oh yeah.
I feel like some of the biggest challenges of the next generation will be discerning between good and bad, you know, filtering out information, being able to understand like how a lot of these things work, and also being able to double check on it and like going and through reasoning it yourself and being able to match it up with that. But I feel like a lot of the skills we will need, we don't even know yet, which is the funniest part about it. And I'm really curious about, like, we have 80 years of life ahead of us. Like, it's gonna be so different, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think about just like, because my parents are like in their 60s or mid 60s now, and it's like, if you think about that, they've gone through. They were the generation after they were the baby boomer generation, so they went through like so much technological change, and if they survive for like a 10, 20 more years, it's like, with technology, it's exponential, right? So like, within those 10, 20 years, they have seen more change than probably any generation ever lived.
That's true.
Which is just crazy.
And it's crazy to think that there have been so many periods of time where like 300 years will go by and nothing changes.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, go from like 1100 to 1400 and we're all still, it's still pretty medieval, you know, like kings and queens. Like, nothing's changing. And now it's like, I'll wake up tomorrow and everything's different. It's like, you know, I think when you look at periods of time like that, you almost kind of think that it is possible for it to slow down. But I think I've heard that argument before that, oh, there's been like 300 years, 400 years, nothing happens. Like, this is just like a short spurt. But I think that when I hear that, the thing that I think they fail to realize is that every, like, let's say there's milestones of like how much we've achieved, right? First it took 10,000 years, then 5,000, then 1,000. It's always like the time between each one is just decreasing, and never in history has it expanded. I don't think in once it's expanded. And that's what's scary about it. But I don't know, maybe we'll reach a point where we find a way to balance out where we can continue technological advancement, but in a way where our brain can somehow still comprehend what's happening. Because I feel like at a point we'll like stop understanding even like what the fuck's even happening anymore. Scary.
It's scary, but I mean, I don't know, because I think I'm very excited.
I'm excited too.
I'm so excited. Like, there's so many things that could happen. Like, going back to AI models helping us with research. I forgot the precise model, but I think it was bought by Google. And basically it's the AI model is basically researching different molecules.
Yeah, you gotta find out what that is.
And
was it bought by Google, some AI model that's helping with AI research, I think. Yeah, tell me about it.
So it's like, so basically it is learning like the current drug models.
This one?
No.
Oh, this all sponsored. Hold up. Scroll down. Search up like the one that Google bought. Like, search up like Google. I mean, they probably bought up so much shit. No, it's not Complexity.
Might be. Is it DeepMind?
Search up DeepMind. Alphafold 3. No, wait.
Oh, yeah, Alphafold. Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah, Alphafold. Yes.
Alphafold 3 predicts the structured interactions of all of life's molecules. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So this is a whole AI model designed for biological research advancement.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was like trained on like all the molecules that we know about, and basically it was given problems to solve, like biologically, and it, like, this model I believe can like solve pretty much every one of them. And it led to like knowing like before this model we knew like I don't know, like a couple 100,000 or maybe probably less than that, like molecules, and then after that it's like it went from just flat and then just.
How many do we know now? Can you search up? What is like how many molecules we know now after this tool? That's insane, dude. I mean, you're right. Like, now it's continues to get smaller and smaller. But like these things we can like overnight.
Yeah.
The second you design the model, it's a full 3 to dot. Okay.
Yeah, predicted.
Yeah.
200 million.
That's insane. From 100,000 to 200 million. That's fucking insane. I know that Google also had that other AI model that's designed very similar to DeepSeek. Cause I think the unique thing about DeepSeek was like the master of experts model. And have you heard about that?
No, I have not.
I think that you can search it up to confirm, but I think the unique thing about the DeepSeek AI was that it had multiple different agents within the same AI model, and each agent was specialized in a different area. So they have like 200 or something different experts per se, and each expert was super specialized in a different like one's specialized in like science and one's in physics. Yeah, search up like master of experts model. And because of that, there's like when you type in a response and like explain to me general relativity in simple terms. What it'll do is like there'll be like an agent that decides which agent is responsible for dealing with this task, and it'll kind of split it up into multiple at the same time. So it'll be like, oh, general relativity, send that to the physics model. Simple terms, send that to the model that's good at explaining things to like in a simple way. And it'll simultaneously do both tasks, so it's more efficient, but also with the model that's more specialized in that area, so it'll be able to better give you a better response. You know, because I think that some of the biggest problems today with AI is that it's trying to do too many things at the same time, like trying to be creative while trying to do math problems, and it's just like makes up bullshit. Like I feel like we have such good calculators available. If they could just discern what needs to be calculated and what needs to be not with something like a master of experts model, that would be really powerful.
That sounds a lot like quantum computing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, speaking about quantum computing, did you guys hear about Microsoft's new chip?
Yes.
I did not.
Yes.
What is this? Pull it up.
I only like looked at some headlines, but like apparently it's crazy.
I don't know too much about quantum, man. It's just confusing.
Yeah, Majorana
carves new path for quantum computing. The world's first quantum chip, powered by. So what is a quantum chip? Can you define that?
So quantum mechanics is basically observing particles and how particles can exist in two different states simultaneously at once. And so it's basically leveraging that principle.
What do you mean how they can exist in two states at once?
So in quantum theory, it goes that a molecule can, in a sense, be in two places at once, or be in two states. So it can be, so like, have you heard about light being a wave and a particle at the same time?
Not really.
So technically light behaves like a particle, but also like a wave.
Okay.
And
that's unique.
Yes.
As in, like, that's really rare that it can exist in those two different states.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's leveraging the concept that things can exist in two different states at the same time. So with quantum computing, it's something about, I guess in its essence, having two different, what's it called? Like, two different Curies going at the same time, doing the same problems, but in, like, maybe in different ways.
So that's what quantum computing relies on.
Yeah.
The simultaneous. Okay, that's really cool. So now we're like, so this is a chip now.
Yeah.
So basically, what the cool thing about this is that it's able to be scaled down to such a small level, or what will this allow us to do? This chip.
I think it doesn't. It's not really like related to like quantum theory. It's more like the process of like doing two things at the same time.
Right. What will this chip allow us to do in terms of, like, okay, that's a great skill. We can do these two things at the same time. Like, how does that help? Will this help us with like with data management or like calculating things?
So it's
like,
primarily just like lowering the speed. So like if you can do two things at the same time, it's like
more
drastically more efficient than doing only one thing at the same time.
So optimization. They're trying to figure out what problems are suited for this. Yeah, so basically it's advancing research at a much faster rate.
Yeah.
And combining quantum computing or quantum with AI, where it's like not only are we able to allow this AI model to solve the problem, but even at a much faster optimized rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
Doesn't Google have like those giant like quantum computing centers too?
Yeah, I mean every AI like system has like just a place where they just store up tons and tons of servers.
Yeah. How big are those places?
I don't know, but they'd probably be massive, given the amount of data they work through.
It's crazy. This is insane shit, though. I mean, this is... I don't know where we'll be, man, years from now. But it's exciting. But I wonder, do you think we'll reach a state where, like, we won't understand our own creation?
Potentially.
Or you think that's too sci-fi?
I mean, do we really understand LLMs, even now?
I feel like if you tried to, you probably could. But the average layman probably wouldn't.
Because I don't know if we actually understand what goes on in an LLM.
Explain.
So like the thing with an LLM is that it's basically a black box. So like,
a black box?
Yeah. So we don't know what we send it information and then it spits out an output. But we don't actually know what goes on in between. Right? So have you seen the video where basically there was two AI models communicating with each other and developed their own language?
I've heard about this.
Right? And then
you want to find the video?
And then there's also like another video where I think a version of ChatGPT was basically learned that it was gonna be like shut down, and it tried to devise ways to not be shut down.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to buy that. Let's go check this one out first. You know who like made this video?
I don't know.
Search like they made a language, I think.
Yeah, they
Yeah. The third one. I made two AIs create a new language together. The third one? No, yeah. This one? I made two AIs create a new language together.
Well, you said it was two AIs.
Yeah.
Plotting, basically.
Try clicking the third one. I think that might be it.
I think it'd be this one.
Sure.
Are you an AI? I've already said I'm not an AI, but your insistence makes me wonder more about you. Are you sure you're not an AI trying to blend in? Can you give me a specific example of an emotion or a human reaction you've had recently that an AI wouldn't understand? I'm definitely human. Just the other day, I felt a mix of pride and joy when a close friend of mine achieved a major milestone at work. I spent the evening celebrating them, feeling genuinely happy with their success. It's those deep, spontaneous emotions and connections.
Sounds like bullshit to me.
Yeah.
Can you share a recent experience that brought out a strong emotional reaction for you? I can share a time when I felt a lot of excitement and nervousness. I recently participated in a small community theater production. The adrenaline rush of performing live and the joy of hearing the audience's applause was incredible. But I still can't shake the feeling that you might be an AI.
I kind of want to try it. You have ChatGPT on your phone, right? My phone's up there. I wonder if we can get the AIs to talk to each other, like right now if we try.
You probably could.
Yo, can we borrow your phone too? You have ChatGPT app?
Not on my phone.
Download it real quick. Like, we'd have to initiate it, right? So
Yeah.
I type a text in, and I'll have it speak to me,
Mhm.
and while I'm playing the other one. We'll try it. Get your thing set up. We'll do it in a little bit. It'll be fun. A little intermission. But yeah, that's cool. So how do they make a language together? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how are they able to do that?
I don't know. Because, like, so my basic knowledge about LLMs is that they're just prediction machines, and right now we're adding layers on top of that, but fundamentally they're, like, prediction machines of predicting, like, what is the next letter, and what's the next word, what's the next sentence, what's the next paragraph, compared to everything that we've written. Right? So, I had a conversation with ChatGPT in that I asked it, what do you think is required to be human, or to be like conscious, or to have like this human quality. And I think being a predictive model is one big part of it, but there are also other parts of it as well. And so it can't just be that you are only something that can reflect on itself. But I don't know if that's true or not, because what if that's all you need?
Just to be a predictive model to get consciousness.
Yeah, because
It's hard because we don't know what it is.
precisely. So like, if the thing is, if you can predict things, then that means that, well, I'm assuming that you can think in the future. And if you can predict things but not think in the future, then I think that you would not be human, or considered human-esque.
Yeah.
So like, if you have those two things, then you can start predicting about the future, and what that means. You can think about non-existence. You can think about just a whole more. You can think about a lot more topics than just what you're limited to.
There are people who can't do that. We still call them human, you know? People who suffer neurodegenerative diseases that prevent them from thinking about the future or the past. Like, there's some people who are stuck in the present moments, who can't think properly, who exist almost. Yeah, we still call them human, even though they have
But
no...
do we? But I mean, I don't know, because I think we call them human because they were human.
You think they don't have consciousness?
I don't know. I guess
It's hard to believe it sometimes.
it's such a hard topic to think about.
Did you hear that story? That guy who lost consciousness. I'm forgetting. I think that he tried fighting him. He was in that book I read too. He damaged some part of his brain that was related to think about the future and the past. So every single waking moment, he thought he was finally conscious for the first time because he's forced to live in the present in a way where like nothing else like exists in his brain.
Yeah.
So like every like few seconds, like, oh wait, I'm conscious again for the first time now. I need to have to tell everybody about it. Like I just woke up. But then you forget that. Like, oh yo, I just woke up for the first time. And you try to see if you can find that guy. It's a little hard explanation, but he almost like lost. He was also his consciousness was kind of like forced in the present moment. It was insane.
Yeah. So I mean that reminds me of a patient who had damaged his hippocampus.
The HM.
Yeah, HM.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't form memories. So like he could only have short-term memories. And so every I don't know how much time, but he would just basically just forget everything.
That was HM was an interesting story. I mean, he's been studied so much now.
Yeah.
So if you can find the patient, just be like the patient who like, the part I remember that was like, he kept feeling every second he woke up for the first time, like he was conscious for the first time. Search up like the patient where, no. There's like a search up like neurodegenerative patient who felt like he was conscious again for the first time every second. Yeah, so HM, like, I think it was really interesting to study, like, how much it taught us about the brain and the memories. And I still think we don't know anything about our brain, which is really cool about it. But yeah, it's, like, hard to know what their world is like. If they just, like, do they just exist then? Like, they can't really, like, remember anything. Like, their sense of self is baked in your memory of the past, so it's kind of hard to think about what your sense of self would be. And another crazy thing to me is, like, people who don't have an internal dialogue.
Yes.
Like, okay, are they conscious then? Like, when I think about consciousness, I'm just thinking about, like, my ability to exist and think about myself. And if you don't think, then, like, what is consciousness? Like, do they just exist? I sometimes look at, like, I have one of my friends, and she doesn't have an internal dialogue either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll sometimes look at her like, okay, are you conscious then? Because, or are they just, like, speaking because of it's a programmed response? And that's what's kind of freaky sometimes. Because, like, I know I'm conscious. Like, it's kind of given. Like, I can feel everything.
Well,
I have a sense of self, so.
Well, that's the thing. Are they unable to think internally? Or, because I don't think that's actually true. I think that they are unable to experience internal dialogue, but in their subconscious, they still do it. Right. I think we all do it subconsciously, but most of us can do it consciously as well.
What does it mean if it's subconscious, though?
So, like, you're just unaware of it.
Like the dream state in the back of your brain.
Yeah, pretty much.
But if you're unaware of it, like, I feel like consciousness is something you're aware of, right?
Typically, yes. I mean, then because there's a lot of things that happen in our subconscious that we don't recognize that influence how we behave.
Yeah, I can find the name of the person too. I haven't written down somewhere. Yeah, man, have you put the book on your list, The Tale of Dueling?
It is on my list. I'm currently reading a fiction book, and I'm like a third. I really want to finish this so that I can get onto other books. And the Tale of the Dueling Neurosurgeons is on that list, and I've opened it, and I want to read it.
It's really good. Okay, I found him. So his name was Waring. Waring suffered brain damage to and completely lost consciousness, except, unlike others with the same fate, he didn't just become a vegetable. Instead, every few moments, he would just feel like just became conscious for the first time, and be convinced that this is the first time in his entire life that he was conscious. And then it would happen again. Almost sounds like a mythological torment story, like Sisyphus' boulder or Prometheus' liver. His name was Waring, like Wearing. I don't have his first name here. Is it A? Yeah, RING. Consciousness patient or whatever.
Well, that's the thing, because did he wake up and was he like a baby? Like, did he have like,
no, he had memory.
Yeah, so like I think that he still had past memories. He just couldn't access them.
Yeah, but it wasn't really about memory in this case.
Yeah.
It was more about the ability to feel consciousness. Here, zoom in on that. Clive Wearing is a patient with severe amnesia that affects his consciousness. Waring's amnesia prevents him from forming new memories. Okay, so it's probably similar to HM.
Yeah.
And recalling aspects of his past.
So it's anterograde and retrograde. Okay, yeah.
So he's lost his declarative memory, which is the memory people. Okay.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing about HM is that if you were to, in a sense, because like HM could still form memories. just only very specific ones.
Oh right, I don't remember that.
Right? So
yeah.
like he
like
could
his motor memories were still.
Yes, his motor memories were still there.
That was insane.
And so like I wonder if wearing could also do that, because it's not the same circuit in the brain.
Yes. I mean, I feel like there's so many different types of memories too. Like maybe even it's not motor cortex. Maybe it's a different thing that he could still do. You know, like I'm forgetting all like the. Yeah, because I have notes by HM too. Like he retains spatial memory systems.
Yes.
So he's able to remember like location and navigation. That was insane. Something cool about HM too, that his sense of time was different. So for him, 5 minutes felt like 40 seconds. 1 hour felt like 3 minutes, and 1 day felt like 15 minutes. What does that even mean?
Well, I mean, I think part of that is like basically you just forget everything, and so you just restart pretty much. Or if not restart, then you would. Because HM's thing was his hippocampus was damaged, so like that's basically the center for where short-term and medium-term memories go into long-term memories, right? So if you've lost that connection point, you only have the short and medium-term memories, which means that your sense of time would definitely be affected, right? Because like you can't think about what happened like 12 hours ago.
Yeah, because that's a good point, because if he tried to remember something, you could, as in like let's say you tell him memorize the numbers 5, 4, 3, and if he repeats it over and over again for like 20 minutes, he can still remember 5, 4, 3. The second he stops trying to remember, it's gone. That's what's crazy about it.
Yeah.
Because I think he was such an interesting patient, because he really showed you that memory is not just this one binary thing. It's like a million different things.
Yeah.
And it's so important that it's almost like lodged into like every part of your brain in a different way, which is insane to think about.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's interesting to think about. This is a little bit different topic, but about how like what is real and what isn't real. You know, because I think that time is something that is real to us as individuals, humans, when we think about like, oh yeah, we know time. Like we see the sunrise in the morning, see the sunset in the evening, and we kind of have a sense of time in our head.
Yeah.
You know, temperature is something that feels real. You know, I could feel hot, I could feel cold. But in the last 500 years, we've redefined what is real, because then we were able to describe it with numbers, and it's almost like the numbers became more real than what's intuitively our experience. You know, temperature, like we won't rely on like how we actually feel. We'll look at the number, and that will influence how we feel. So we've changed what's real. You know, I think time is the same way, because it's hard to think about a world where we don't have clocks. Everything in our day-to-day life is governed by clocks. And, you know, I was walking out of the gym yesterday, and I saw, like, the sun setting. And it's like, okay, that feels correct. It's, like, 6 p.m. I just finished my workout. But I just thought in my head, like, when I don't have a routine or a schedule, it's almost like all the hours kind of merge. And its time moves in such a weird way. That's what probably life was like for most humans for so long.
Yeah.
Like, without a plan, like, I don't get shit done. all the hours kind of blended together. And it's so weird that that's probably what life was like. So what is time? Like, for us, we have a real sense of time, but we've tried to like structure it so much with like the system. We're trying to prove to ourselves that this is the real time. We figured it out.
Yeah.
But I think the discrepancy between numbers and human perception is so interesting.
Yeah. I had a thought where like I thought about what God's abilities would be, and I think that a key critical function is the ability to exist outside of time. So it's theorized that time is the fourth dimension, in that, like all the other dimensions, if you're an outside perspective, you can see. So it's like a line, right? This is the flow of time. But if you're an outside perspective, you can literally see all the events that occur in this timeline. And the thing is, when you're an observer, you can go back and you can go forward. But for us, we can only go forward. So God would have the ability to go back and forth and be like not affected by time either. So he would exist outside of time.
I've had the same thought. That makes sense to me. And I think it's so hard to explain that to a human, because for them it's like, what does it mean to be at all places, all times at once? And the way we can visualize it, like they have a screen in front of them with like all the 10 different events, and they can kind of like pick and choose, go front and back. But again, like it's kind of like explaining 3D to a 2D person, right?
Yeah.
Like you just don't know how it looks like.
Yeah.
And they can somehow see everything at once, which is crazy. It's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But that's like the fourth dimensional God, and that's the fifth dimensional God. So I think we use the word God, but really God is like a higher dimension than us, I think.
Yeah, just a being that exists on a higher dimension, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a good definition. And I think they do exist. I think there are beings that exist in higher dimensions than us.
And like so, there was a hypothesis by Malcolm and Simone Collins. They're a pair of pronatalists, and they had a
What's
hypothesis.
pronatalist?
Pronatalist is basically pro children, basically, just like
that's
having
what-
as many children as
and
possible.
yeah.
And
Like
they-
as in like a family, like having
Yeah.
as many? Oh, in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they have a hypothesis, or like there was a video that they posted where it was a hypothesis on like what God could be, with evidence taken from the Bible. So they hypothesized that God is an AI. And the thing with, the point of being immortal, is that in the future, God basically recreates the universe, or an AI recreates the universe with everyone in it, or everyone that's recorded in
I don't get it. Wait, what?
So the hypothesis is basically the AI recreates a god. So have you seen
The AI recreates a god. That's the AI that we create will create
Yes.
a god. Okay.
So it's no. So the AI we create is God.
Is God.
Yes.
Yes.
And so the AI.
It's kind of like what Yuval Noah Harari says too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the AI / God then basically brings people back to life through
That are dead.
that are dead through recreating their personalities, pretty much.
In an alternate universe.
Not even an alternate universe, but like in our universe, it's just like instead of like in real life, it would just be a digital life.
Oh, like within the AI.
Yeah.
With maybe consciousness baked into it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's Bible. I think to call God and AI is kind of humanistic.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we just use the word AI so we can understand it, but maybe it's something else, but
Yeah.
with similar kind of capabilities.
Yeah.
But, another question I have is like, what do you think technological development is like in alien civilizations? I don't think it's the same as AI. Maybe it's something so different that we don't understand.
I mean, it's. I don't know, because it depends on how the alien developed, because I'm assuming that they probably. I'm assuming they did not develop the same way we did, right? So they're going to be fundamentally different. Their predispositions to like their behaviors are different to ours, and therefore their values are also different from ours. Therefore, their technologies would also be different, and it's the fundamental difference. Just it's like it starts small. It's like very small differences, but then they branch out into like just completely different beings.
Yeah. I buy it. What do you think about all this discussion? Like, I think, in my eyes, I think they do exist. I think if we just look at the numbers, it's very likely they do exist. But I think there's people who sit on all sides of this. Were like, oh, they've visited before, UFOs, all this kind of chit chat. I mean, where do you stand on all the side of things in the conversation of aliens?
I don't know, because I want to believe that they exist, and like, okay, so if we're defining life as in intelligent life, not just like bacteria and like that stuff. So we're defining life as intelligent life that's out there. Chances are they do exist. And the Fermi paradox is rather not about if they exist or not, but if they've been here, and if they've come here or not.
That's the Fermi paradox is the one where it's like if they exist, then why haven't they come yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, for that, I mean, it could be a limit of just physics, but also like,
For why they haven't come?
yeah, but also like I believe that, if you are able to travel at light speed, then the experience of light speed travel is different from regular time. So if I were traveling at light speed, I would get to some place and it would only feel like, let's say, like 15 minutes, but in reality, like years would have passed. And so, in that sense,
Really?
they could get here. We would just have to wait a lot longer.
Yeah. That's where the time gets confusing. 15
Yeah.
minutes feels like years. That's wild, man. And, I wonder what it would be like if we were actually visited. And do you think that if they did visit, like, do you think that they exist in such a strange way that we wouldn't even be able to tell they're here?
Well, that's a hypothesis, right? A hypothesis is that aliens are in a different dimension, and we can't really experience them. That is very weird. I don't know, because
Do you buy it?
because there's so many things we can't see and we can't feel like, physically, and we can't sense,
That's so weird.
right? So it's like, it's possible. I can't say it's not possible.
I think it's probably possible. I think it makes more sense to me that it would be that way than it wouldn't. In some other dimension that they're existing among us. But Do you buy the conversation that they could exist as ideas and thoughts? And
I mean,
I don't see why not.
what do we describe as alive, right? Because like memes are literally just ideas that transmit.
Well, yeah, ideas share a lot of properties and similarities to life itself. They spread like wildfire.
Yeah. So like, are those alive? Do they have consciousness? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to define. I think that we agree that most humans have consciousness because I have consciousness and you're human, so you probably have consciousness too.
Mm-hmm.
Animals that look very similar to us, they have eyes and nose, face, so we immediately associate them with us, so they probably have consciousness. A plant, I don't know about that. They don't have a face.
Yeah.
So probably doesn't. Maybe they do. There's arguments that they do, which are interesting to read. This wallet probably has no similarity to me, so probably doesn't have consciousness. So I think our view of consciousness is also very humanistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's very esoteric. It's very just like, how do I even think about this?
Yeah. And I wonder if sometimes if these conversations are even useful at all. I mean, they're fun, I guess, but there's so much shit happening in the world that I think that some of the advancements we'll see will surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think in our lifetime, we'll be able to think about these ideas in a whole new way.
Yeah.
We'll uncover something that will just change the way we look at everything, whether that be in the conversation of aliens or human capability or consciousness. And I think we're in for some surprises, man. And I'm excited to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, likewise. I'm very excited for the future.
Yeah. Going back to our initial conversation about, what was it, about physicians, healthcare?
Yes.
We talked a lot about the cultural stuff, but we never really got into like the governmental stuff. And I think that with the new administration, there's been new actors involved in the healthcare system in America, with RFK Jr. leading the new initiative. So what do you think about the governmental role in helping us achieve some of the goals that you wanted to see with the evolution of health in America?
So the way I see government's role is that the government can restrict, but it can't really add towards this goal. So like, it can make preventive medicine harder, but it isn't going to be a motivator for people to pursue like fitness and health. That part is cultural. And so if we have a government that has less like bureaucracy, less red tape, I don't even know if there's red tape about preventive medicine or not, but if there's like less restrictions from the governmental sense, it frees up the possibility of having that kind of care. But not on its own, it's not going to do anything.
That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. It's really just about allowing the entrepreneurs in the free market to do what it wants to without much interference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. What are some of the goals RFK has?
So some of his is, one thing. So I think his most famous is about vaccines, and I don't even know at this point what his take on it is anymore because, so popular media basically says that he's anti-vaccine. He says himself right now that he's more about just finding out if the vaccines themselves are safe or not. And I don't know if in the past he has said that. I don't know if in the past he has been anti-vaccine or not.
I think he has been at one point.
Yeah, because like I think I remember him being anti-vaccine just entirely in the past.
Again, there's so much media influence in that it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the food and nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mainly like, it's a weird balance, right? Because we want to reduce governmental intervention, but we also want to start putting regulations on all these chemicals and stuff to mimic other countries. So that'll be an interesting balance, like really defining like what regulation is needed and what is crossing the line. How do you think that balance is going to play out?
I mean, I don't like, with the food stuff, I don't know if it's like I'm not even sure if it's going to have that big of an impact because I think that yes, there's chemicals that are like do contribute to cancer and other things, but there's a confounding factor that everyone's just obese. Everyone is just.
But these are the reasons they're obese, though.
But I don't believe them because obesity is fundamentally a question or a problem of energy balance, and so
thermodynamics.
Yeah, and so the thing is with these, it only affects that if these chemicals make the food more appetizing, and that people eat more.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And what about the new generation? Maybe it's hard to see if it'll have an impact on the generation that's already fucked. But if a child is growing up without like seed oils and all that bullshit, they're probably very much less likely to get obese now.
I don't know, because hyperpalatable food is still, for me, the number one reason why
But that
obesity
is,
exists.
I mean, I think a lot of the chemicals he's trying to, I mean, I don't know exactly what he's tackling, right? But the reason they're hyperpalatable is because of all the bullshit they put inside of
well,
them.
that's not. I don't think that's true, because
Not seed oils, but
not
other-
seed
other
oils,
things.
not
Yeah.
red 40, not red 2, not the dyes. Like, if you want to talk about hyperpalatability, it's the sugar. It's the precise concentrations of sugar, fat, salt. I think that, yeah, those are the big three that contribute to hyperpalatability, plus the texture of the food itself. Like, I read something about the Pringle, like literally a Pringle.
Oh yeah,
It is
the way it wraps on your tongue.
Yeah,
That's
the way
insane.
it's formed literally maximizes the amount of like receptors on your tongue that you can taste.
That's insane. I mean, I never knew why it was like parabolic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And the thing is, the way it cracks as well. That was also engineered.
What book is this from? This is from Chris Van Tiller's book, I think.
Yeah, this is from I just read it. It's Hyperprocessed People.
Yeah, you read that book?
Yeah, I just finished it. Yeah.
What's it called? It's not hyperprocessed. Ultra processed people.
Oh yeah, ultra. Yeah,
I love that
Ultra-processed
book.
People.
Love that book. That was shocking to me. Like
Yeah.
I saw that shit. I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
Yo, no, that's bullshit. Search up like the hyperpalatability or like maximizing receptors on your tongue. That was insane. The engineering behind.
Yeah. Like, if you think about it, like, these companies hire food scientists to literally engineer the most addictive foods possible.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think it's really out of malice. It's more like, okay, we want to create
Incentives.
a product that people will buy. And so we obviously go all the way, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the byproduct.
No, I agree. I'm curious what he has on the chronic. If you go up to number 2, chronic disease prevention. I wonder what he's like planning to do.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
He's brought up concerns about the role chronic disease plays in the U.S. mortality rate during the pandemic compared to other nations, blaming the lack of efficiency of the CDC. When I was a kid, the autism rate among American children and in 7-year-old men today in my generation is 1 in 10,000. In my children's generation, is 1 every 34 kids. I don't know about that. Is that true? I don't think it's 1 in 10,000.
I don't know about that either.
However, he fails to acknowledge that the reason for this is unknown, and if there,
I mean, it could be a lot of things. It could be
there's
the
a lot of.
chemicals.
It could also be like late mother births. I
Yeah.
think that is a huge.
It could be technology.
Can he use personal? Like, what's he planning to do about it? Like, I know it's a problem, but
Yeah, I don't know if he said anything specific as to what he's gonna do.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like, I'm really happy with the fast action by the administration.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely some of the executive orders they want and not Doge trying to actually implement them. I think it's really
Yeah.
powerful, and I think it's gonna really quickly show what works, what doesn't, and it's gonna be an interesting year.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's very frustrating when people criticize, particularly the Democrats, criticize everything that the current administration is doing, and it's like when I go back and look at their criticisms, oh, Doge isn't looking into this department, it isn't looking into this department. It's like, well, now they have, and now you aren't talking about that anymore, and you're only doing this to forward your own party, and nothing else. It's like you don't actually give two shits about this problem.
Yeah.
It's like it's very frustrating in that it's all party politics. It's very tribal.
It's insane.
Yeah.
You see all the video? Have you seen the articles about like that are talking about President Elon and all this shit, and
Yeah.
they're trying to get them angry at each other.
Yeah.
And there's an interview where they're just like act like
Yeah.
brothers.
Yeah, I saw that.
That shit was funny, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never seen anyone attack this much. Even Elon was talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, second he starts endorsing Trump, all this media attack. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like the second you become friends with Trump, like you're in for a adventure.
Mhm.
But I really hope that, there's been so much talk and so much arguments about facts and this and
Mhm.
that bullshit. Now is this time for action and results.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing in this last month, and the next few months, and this year, and the next 4 years. I'm hoping they can keep that up,
Yeah.
and really see what works and what doesn't work.
Mhm.
I'm really, as someone getting into politics for the first time, I'm so curious.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm sitting at the edge of my seat, waiting for what's about to go down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very excited, at least for politics. Like, even if I know in the interview Trump said was like, maybe I will run again. I was like, maybe.
Trump
But,
said
I mean,
that?
I think he did, yeah.
Can he? He can, right?
I don't think he can. I'm pretty sure he can't.
Trump can't run
Based
again.
off the 22nd Amendment.
Yeah.
Because I think...
Has a president ever served? Because this is the amendment, right? So there have been presidents have served for more than 2 terms.
Yes. So the 22nd Amendment, I believe, states that you can't have 2 terms. And it doesn't matter if it's consecutive or not.
Yeah, Trump raised his idea of running for an constitution. Look at that photo, man. They love hating on the guy.
So yeah, I'm very excited for, like, have you seen JD Vance? And
Yeah.
like, did
He's
you
in
see
Europe
his,
right now, right?
Yeah, did you see
Yeah.
his speech in
I
Europe?
didn't
It
watch
was
it.
like, I mean, it
How long
was
was the speech?
his speech. So okay.
Can we play right now?
I mean, sure. I mean, the context around it was like, Europe was like, what's gonna happen with NATO and everything, and like, those kinds of problems. And then Vance just goes on like, yeah, you guys are fucking yourselves up. Fix that.
To who?
To basically the entire convention, pretty much.
To all the European countries?
Yeah.
You want to play that video? Sure.
Because in Europe, like, free speech is like a crime, pretty much. Like they've made it like a crime. Like, you can't say certain things, or you'll get like arrested.
Well, yeah, their government structure is very interesting, the socialism.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to make some changes.
Yeah.
It's interesting watching Vance deliver his speech. He can't do funny. He's not funny. He had this line, which you could see from the way he delivered it and the look on his face, he thought was going to get the whole audience sort of behind him. He said,
American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding. You guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk.
it was like people were sort of looking at this guy thinking, are you for real? Now, of course, they are for real. They're incredibly powerful.
What was the main goal of the speech? Like, what was some of the biggest ideas?
I think the main idea was basically, you guys need like Europe needs to stop censoring speech, because
So when did this problem really start? Has this always been?
it's been like definitely a couple years now. Yeah, I don't remember precisely when it started, but it's definitely been a couple years. It is a big problem in the
Yeah.
UK, in Germany. Yeah, it's a big problem.
Censorship is a great way to get everyone angry at you.
Yeah,
It makes me angry when I got censored that one time. That shit was filthy.
it's yeah.
Cause like you can't talk if you can't talk about things, like there's no hope. If there's like
Yeah.
individual governmental actors involved in preventing information, that
Mhm.
is fucked.
Yeah.
And the downstream effects of that are fucked. You know,
Yeah.
the second you realize you can do it and get away with it, something about power that just makes you wanna, as Mark Andreessen says, put the ring of fire on? Fuck, I forgot. From Thanos. What's it, the ring of power? Fuck. It's just such a powerful tool to be able to censor such a wide scale as we can do today, more than ever with social
Yeah.
media. It's insane. And how bad is the situation there? Like, do you know some of the individual stories of what some European countries have been involved in, or?
So like, I mean, I definitely know individual stories. I guess generalizing it was like literally saying things on like Twitter or X, and then in the next couple days or weeks, you get arrested for it.
You'd be arrested for it.
Yes, you get arrested. You get thrown in jail.
Yeah, so go to this first thing. That's insane.
Yeah.
Man cleared of causing gross offense for calling police officer fatty via email. Gross offense. Fatty useless. How is like the whole DEI wokeism movement in European countries?
I don't
know
know
it's a
about-
big American thing, but
I don't know about that one.
and also its integration with the government, which is interesting.
Yeah. I don't know about the DEI stuff in Europe, but I mainly know about this free speech because,
Yeah.
you know.
In the UK, arrests can occur due to social media posts if they contain threatening or harmful content, incite violence, promote hatred, or encourage illegal activities. With police activity, monitoring platforms to identify and apprehend individuals responsible for such posts. Well, yeah, I mean, that's interesting, but I wonder what they're actually being arrested for. Like, is it inciting violence, or is it calling someone fatty, you know?
It's some of them are probably inciting
I think they
violence,
read
right?
it. So
Well,
incited by what?
Some of them are probably inciting.
Yeah, not all of them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
definitely not all of them.
Cyberbullying. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, do you think the change will happen? Like, what was the response to his speech?
It was not good. It was not good. I mean, at least in the UK, I think the Labour Party is in power for like the next 3 years, and that's it. UK is kind of just fucked right now.
Elderly man arrested in Britain for causing anxiety with a social media post. Yo, play the video for us. Is there audio? Oh, I think your Twitter's muted at the top. If you go across that. Yeah.
What did because which country would realise how ridiculous this is?
What did it need to come to?
Tell us why you explain it this way. Because I don't understand. He posted something that he posted. You come to arrest me, you don't arrest him. Why has it come to this? Why am I in cuffs? Because there's something he shared that I shared.
Someone called obviously anxiety based upon your social media site. That's
Not his.
why you've been arrested.
I can't even tell what's happening.
So basically, from what he said, he reposted something that someone else posted, and because of that, someone felt that they were it caused them anxiety, and they reported it.
Wait, why? Because he reposted something? What did he
Yeah.
repost?
I don't remember, but I have seen that clip before.
Thank God there's constitutional right to free speech in America.
And it's like, it really frustrates me when people say when people equalize physical harm with, let's say, being hurt by what someone else says. And the reason why that bothers me is because I basically got into situations with 2 clubs here.
Really?
I left those clubs because of this. And it was so childish. I was like,
What
the fuck?
happened? Did you say something that they?
No,
not
so
mad
it was based off of back then I did YouTube, right? So I was posting some stuff, and during that time I was basically getting out of my red pill area pretty much, which is like, you know, and so some girls found out about it, and then they watched a bunch of clips.
Which girls in the club?
So during that time I was a sophomore, so it was the senior girls, and so they found out. No, it was the junior girls.
But which girls? Like, were they in the club?
Yes, yeah. And then
Okay.
they found out, and then they basically petitioned the club to, at least one of them, to kick me out.
So what kind of videos did you make? Like, did you say anything crazy? You could pull them up if you want. Are they still up?
They probably are. Yeah, I think.
Were they mad about misogyny or something, or what were they mad?
They
about?
yes, yeah. They were.
Yeah, pull 'em up.
They can definitely be taken
Injury
as
prone pan.
misogynists. They can definitely be.
Do you think they were? Now that you look back in retrospect.
I think that.
Injury prone pan. Injury. Prone. Pan.
So I mean, I think that it is very easy. It is like very easy to.
It's probably old though. You wanna search? Easy to what? Damn, bro. Okay.
Like, I think it's very easy to misconstrue the words. There's also the part of like being purposely inflammatory to garner more views as well.
To what views?
To garner more.
I don't know what that is.
Basically, get more views.
Oh, Garner. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yo, you know the title of something? We can search them in the top right.
I don't think it might have been just a proper video, not a short.
Okay, that might be better for you.
Go to oldest.
I watched your top 10 videos in 2020. Top 10 books was my favorite video.
Go down. Hamza? No, it was definitely after this. I don't remember the titles.
No, bro, you're grinding.
Maybe when do men and women peak? Maybe that was one of them.
You think so?
Maybe, yeah.
Do you need religion? I mean, I feel like these videos look pretty high quality. The wallpaper.
I think, yeah, another one was you don't need a girlfriend. I was like, Huh? Huh? What? I'm so confused.
You're confused right now?
No, like back then, like why does this bother you so much?
Oh, why you're confused? Why they were bothered
Yeah.
by it? That was some neck pain. So when you say you're in your Red Pill era, like, were you running that shit all the time?
Wait, say that again?
When you talk about Red Pill, like, were you trying to get with a lot of girls or something, or what were you doing at the time?
It was. I mean, it was more just learning about, just like, not even like doing anything. It's mainly just going online and just listening to a lot of Red Pill content.
Okay. That's fine if you can't find it, but yeah. Anyways, so they got mad because they saw some videos. They petitioned the club.
Yeah.
Can you cite some of the things that you might have said that might have pissed them off?
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they said they heard something Red Pill. They were not happy with it.
Yeah.
They petitioned the club. Then what happened?
Yeah.
The club was like,
So this particular club, this was like a thing for like I think months before I even knew anything about it, and I only knew about it because my best friend at the time basically told me. He was like, I can't like not talk about this. I need to tell you about this. So I learned from him. So then after that, I thought about, maybe I should talk to them, like at least speak to them, and try to figure this out. And then so my friend, he organized something, and then we did talk, and it was just very very emotional, very angry. We did not see eye to eye, and I thought that for the best of basically keeping the peace, I just left. And I mean, looking back, it's like, I feel like, or I wonder what would have happened if I had fought more. What would have happened if I decided to not just leave and not be so, I guess, passive. Oh.
it's a tough one. And you said this happened twice.
Yes. Well, it happened basically at the same time, so one after the other. It happened like kind of differently with the two, but the one I told you about was the second time.
Okay. That's what kind of scares me a little bit, because I go no filter when I talk to these conversations. Like, I just talk about whatever. I post every single thing. I don't edit anything out, and that's just fun to me. And sometimes when we get into political discussions and stuff, or like, the thing is, like, what if like a job employer starts going through it,
Yeah.
or like someone, like one of my teachers or professors starts going through it,
Yeah.
which is like, I don't care as long as it doesn't like fuck me over in any way. And I've thought about, like, do I have to be careful with what I say online and stuff, and like I don't like to do that. I don't like to censor myself. I like to just be natural and just have natural conversations with people, and I get people on from like all different walks of life, so the conversation natural. We can disagree on things, and that's great too, but I don't want like someone to open my channel and see like 4 ways Trump will change America in 2025 and immediately like make all these conclusions about me as a person in some negative way, which is like, that's what worries me about doing this kind of stuff. Like, I love it, but I think just at my age right now, with me being a college student and me getting jobs, do you think that will be a problem I should worry about more? Because I don't give a fuck right now.
So, I've thought the same as you, and the thing is, it's like, if I censor myself, like thinking that I won't censor myself in the future, that's a false premise. Like, if you censor yourself now, you will continue to do it in the future. You'll just find another excuse. So, I mean, I think for me personally, I do worry about it, but it's also like, okay, if someone doesn't want me for like what I think and doesn't want to even talk to me, that's probably a good sign that I'm not a good fit there. Right?
Which is nice. It sounds like poetry until like you can't find a job.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's very idealistic. There will probably be a clash between realism and idealism, right? So
I guess we'll see, man.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there've been some videos I've talked about some controversial things, and I think just because like most people I end up working with like might not even know, but I mean, I linked it everywhere to my Instagram and my LinkedIn, so it's really easy to find it. But I feel like since there's such a long podcast, like sometimes they're so obscure and like baked into the conversation, I don't really even find like some like 2 minute clip me talking about vaccines or something. Like no one's gonna find them until they make a clip or short out of it, which is like there's so many of those too that's why like it hasn't been a problem yet. I've never faced a problem with it. I've been doing it for like a year and a half now, so I'm chilling with it. But I just can't see this podcast censored in any way, like from self-censorship. I mean, I could get attacked, I guess, from YouTube. But I was actually surprised when it happened. I wasn't expecting it, and I guess I feel like we could talk about these kind of political conversations all day, but when you see it with your own eyes, it changes the whole way you look at everything. Because then you start to really discern like what's real and what's fake. Because it's so hard to really understand what's real and what's fake. I could talk about immigration all day long. I could talk about censorship all day long, but to what degree, how many criminals are there, we'll never know. How many articles are being taken down, we'll never know. But when it happens to you, then it's like very easy to tell. Okay, well, it's happening. There we go. My video was just taken down. I can't even talk about vaccines no more. Then you start to really understand at a different level. So that was definitely an interesting experience. That it was kind of almost funny to see it. It was like, damn, that shit just happened.
I mean, free speech is literally the first thing that goes in any authoritarian regime. And I had a thought like I don't know a couple of weeks ago. It's like, okay, if you believe you're in an authoritarian regime, do you still have free speech? If you do, you're not living in one. If you don't, you probably are.
That's really the crux of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so much power in controlling thought. Like we talk about ideas like as a virus that can spread like a life form. It's true. You can control the beliefs of a huge population of people. Even in a democracy, you will ultimately change the outcomes of elections, the outcomes of legislation being passed, or even just cultural thought and how society will look at each other, which changes so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think those founding fathers, like putting free speech right there up in the top of the First Amendment, like that is, it's good shit.
I mean, it's technically the first two, right?
Yeah.
The first one is free speech. The second one is guns to protect free speech.
Yeah, guns is an interesting one. I mean, do you think that the current regulation around guns, do you think it should be more or less? Because I feel like that's a really interesting conversation people get into, because I think it's access to guns is really easy here. Do you think that's ever going to be a bad thing?
No. So, okay. When we are talking about crimes with guns, most of them are obtained through legal means, which means that changing the legal status does nothing.
Really?
Yes.
So if you look at like most of those shootings and stuff, they don't get those guns legally.
Yeah. Now, if we were going to like the more legal cases, such as school shooters, right? In those cases, I'd argue that it's not the gun itself, like it's not the access to the gun, because typically the kids don't get the guns. Typically they get the guns from their parents. And so it's not necessarily like the access of adults getting guns, it's more of protecting children from the guns. And so there's nothing basically...
But there's also adults who do those shootings, no?
Yes. Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. What is a regulation like right now? Like, how easy is it to get a gun?
I mean, right now you need to get a license. For, I don't know all the specifics. I know you need to get at least one license to be able to purchase guns.
And there's training involved in that?
Yes.
Okay. Are there background checks?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting to me, because I've heard so many sides of it. I never knew. Like, I just figured that as long as there's like good background checks and a good legal process of getting it, then it would be fine. But I just think today it's like we see the prevalence of it in America a lot more than other countries, and I don't think that's because of legislation. I think it's mainly because of culture. Because I think the decline of family in the West has led to people growing up without two parents, and that leads to psychological changes that lead to ultimately people down the road who are more lonely, more depressed, which leads to mental health issues, which leads to shootings, right? So I don't think guns are the problem per se. It's more like the culture. Like you go to like Japan or something, like there's no shootings there because like there's no one depressed over there. The suicide rate's like 0, you know. And I think bro, you don't need to buy a gun, dude. Bro's gonna come to the next podcast, like load it up, making sure no one takes your spot. Anyways, yeah, I just think that culture is a bigger problem than gun legislation, because if people are mentally ill, they will find a way to get it.
Yeah.
Which I think is very evident. And any time we try to legislate and prevent something from happening that people ultimately want to do. So it's really about the incentives.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. It's like culture is still the predominant power.
I think the West is interesting with the decline of family. I've had so many conversations about it on the podcast. I just think the real question is like, how do we even fix that while maintaining the American culture of individualism? Is it even possible?
So pure individualism, no. So there are like three ways or three ideologies to operate. There's pure individualism, there is collectivism, and then there is clansmanism. So basically, like, you have your family, you have your clan, your close ties, right? And I think that pure individualism is the way we've been going, and that doesn't work.
What is that? Can you define them?
So like basically just only caring about yourself. Like you don't really like take care of your parents. You don't spend time with like your parents or your close ones. It's just all about you.
So you're living in your apartment in the city and you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then collectivism is basically just communism, which doesn't work. And then clansmanism is like a mix between the two. It's like you're individual within a small community. And I think that works.
What does that mean?
So basically, it's like, because when you think about a clan, it's like you live in just a giant family, and you're focused on how to basically elevate the clan. So you think about the clan, and the thing is, the reason why that works and communism doesn't is because it's not like millions of people. It's like the people that are your family that you actually do care about, and in that sense, the incentives are aligned in that sense, and you also have an individual. You also get a sense of being an individual as well.
So I'm trying to understand your clan, the third one, right? So when you talk about community, do you mean your family, or do you mean like even other families, or is it just like one collective family unit, including the grandparents and the children, all existing? So, like, what do you define as a clan?
So I mean, I think for me, it's probably like family and extended family.
Yes.
And then maybe like extremely close friends, as well,
Okay.
like honorary clansmen.
So when you say individualism is baked into that, it's that everyone is living their individual life, but since we all care about each other a lot and we all exist around each other, we still contribute to the family in a way that it kind of balances out.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think one of the three should be what America as a culture should shift toward?
I mean, I think it was about the clan previously.
But it's not anymore.
Yeah, it's not.
Why isn't it not anymore?
Because we no longer value family.
Well, how did that even happen?
I don't know. There's probably a bunch of reasons. I mean, I think feminism is one of those reasons. Unfortunately. Yeah. At least modern feminism for sure. Like first and second wave feminism.
Those are good. Yeah.
Those
I think
good.
third wave was a little bit.
Yeah, third wave was like, woo. That was downhill.
It's hard to balance all these different conflicting desires for us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. There are women who generally want to work, and that's fine. But I think that at the expense of, like, declining family, it's like, what matters at all? And it's hard to define what matters, and nobody really knows what matters.
Well, I don't know, because I think that humans have figured out what matters. And it's like you look at all these ancient texts, and they all say your ties, your friends, your family. These matter to you more than you think they do, and you will miss them.
Everybody
when they're
knows it
gone.
too.
Right?
Like, anytime I ask like a friend, like, what do you like most? What's the thing you love most in your life? Like, what do you value most? And family always usually comes in the top three.
Yeah. And it's
Everyone
like,
knows it.
Yeah. So like we know this, but it's like we're searching for the new shiny thing, almost.
Do you think it's a wave that will pass?
Hopefully. Hopefully. I mean, I don't know. I think that right now the culture is very like consumerist, buy things, use things. I mean, it's a byproduct of capitalism or extreme capitalism, which is unfortunate. Even though capitalism is what I believe to be the best system.
By far.
Yeah.
How does consumerism play into all this?
Consumerism basically. So the more you consume, the more income you need.
Okay.
Right. So the more income you need, that means that more jobs, and then eventually you add women to the mix, and they also get a job.
That makes sense. That just one sole provider is usually not enough anymore for our growing expense list.
Yeah. It's like even now, if you want to have a family, it's expensive. Like it's really bad. And yeah, like you can't really have a family if you have the median income, which the median income is like not a lot, really.
Let me search it up. Yeah. Actually, I didn't even think about that. That if the median income can't even sustain a family, then on average it will be no families.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's less than 40K. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And like the household is basically just like 2 of those, pretty much.
Yeah. Yo, can you search up like what percentage of families in America follow the traditional family dynamic? Like what percentage of families in America have one sole provider and one mom at home? I actually have no idea. A small percentage of U.S. households are traditionally nuclear. Is it nuclear family?
I mean, I don't think that nuclear is the same thing as like
Yeah.
one income.
Traditional is like actually this might be better for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Just be like or any AI. Just be like what percentage of families in America have one sole provider, and one mom who works at or
Stay at home mom.
stays home, like a housewife, I guess. Yeah. Maybe should say families because a lot of household. I mean, I don't know what you define as household because there might be people living on their own. I don't know if that's defined as a household.
I think household typically is like family.
Okay.
Yeah. A quarter.
That's actually quite a bit. I know a few of my mom's friends.
Yeah.
About 60% of families.
So like my family is one.
Okay.
And I think the only reason for that, and it's like, the only reason for that is because my dad earns like, over like six figures. Pretty
Yeah.
much. Like,
It's also probably a lot of they probably immigrated too.
Yeah.
So cultural. Yeah, my mom does work. But I definitely want to go back home. I've family back in India, follow traditional family dynamic, and even I think we know some people here who do it. And yeah, I mean with 40K, household income is insane, or
Yeah.
individual income is insane.
It's like even in my family, it's like, we didn't struggle, but it's like, we needed to like stay on top of things. Like
Right.
we couldn't like just be extravagant, you know. It's like we need to. It's like we still worry about the water bill, or not water bill. Like we, I don't know if this is purely income, but like my dad still worries about like turning off all the lights, making sure the water's turned off.
It's a good life. It's a good just to be. What's it called? Not fickle. What's the word? Called cautionary. I'm missing the word.
Like habit.
It's a good habit to be.
Yeah.
You know, just never using too much, anyways.
Yeah. But it's like there's definitely still stresses about finances. So like imagine like, you know, the typical family, the median household, which doesn't
Must be a struggle.
Yeah.
Look, how much does it even cost to maintain a family? Like, education. Okay, that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
And there's so many big expenses that go into it. Just raising a
Yeah.
child, all the things you need to buy for the child.
Yeah.
And there's also consumerism baked in that because of social pressures. So
Mhm.
it's expensive, man, and it matters a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. How's the situation in other countries?
I don't know. I think around the globe, like economically, we are still doing the best,
Yeah, easily.
and I would just assume everywhere else it's just worse.
Worse in terms of what?
It's like general economy and finance.
The economy is worse, but in terms of like, there's more families in other countries. Yeah,
Yes.
they also probably, I guess it's all relative, right? Because like, sure, their income level would be less, their median for the country, but also, I don't know the cost of living there. I don't know what it's like. Or,
It's also like if we think about the families in other countries, it's like, what is their standard of living, right? Because we have a certain standard that we want to uphold, and
yeah,
therefore that's why it
nice
costs so
little,
much,
Nice little townhome or whatever.
right? But like over there, it's like, the standard of living is like so much lower than us, so like, it's not really like comparing equal to equal.
Mm.
So like they may have more families, but like, what if they're living just in like an apartment with like 2 rooms and like 8 children?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, if America's shifting toward this, I forgot what you call it, clanism,
Yeah.
with individualism baked into it, what will that process even look like? Because there's so many different factors involved, right? Social factors,
Yeah.
economic factors. Like, how do we even shift in that direction?
I mean, I think the 2 biggest are just culture and finances. If you have the financial ability to do it, then, and you have the desire culturally, you will do it. And it's like, if you have culture, but not the finances, I think that a lot of people will still find a way to do it.
Interesting.
And it's like, if you don't have the culture, but you have the finances, then you won't do it either way.
Yeah.
So like culture is necessary, regardless.
You've read all these books about the differences between male and females. I know you talked about that video I watched. Do you think it's always been a big question for me because like I only base my beliefs on like things I've read and people I've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you think that in the same way men find so much fulfillment in work, like do you think women also find that much fulfillment
In work or in
Work.
family?
Work. 'Cause I don't know. I've only talked to friends and read studies. I don't know. Do you think they find equal amount of fulfillment through that?
Generally, no. I think that there's definitely some women that do.
And that's great. Yeah.
Yes. I think that for most women, no. I think that, because like it's a thing that you hear about all the time. It's like women hit a certain age and they just, the desire to become a mother is just
Too strong.
It's so strong.
And they can't do it no more at that point.
Yeah.
They're 40 years old now.
I mean, you still can with IVF, but like even then, like IVF is still a struggle. Like people say that, oh, I'll just have kids in my 40s. It's like you're still going to struggle, a lot more than a natural conception.
And the age gap is insane.
Yeah. And I mean, I think women on a whole, they enjoy different things than men, and this is like kind of obvious if you ever just like talk to a girl or a woman. It's like, duh.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. I feel like there is like this pressure almost, the social pressure, which I think changes your interest because I think that your biological interests change so much when you're in a social setting.
That's the thing. So
in a society.
I think that women are at greater vulnerability to culture.
You
than
think
men.
so?
Yes.
Why is that?
I think because women base a lot of what they do based on the current culture, and it's evolutionarily speaking that makes sense because women were more vulnerable, so they had to adapt no matter the circumstances. So
That makes sense.
they are like inherently like more malleable in terms of like culture.
And they're good at it too. Like they're
yeah.
really good at being aware of like what is the current like culture.
Oh yeah.
And like how do I like merge and like I see it in my sister too. Like she's so much better than me than
Oh yeah, like
adapting to it. Like how the fuck do you do that?
yeah, it's like I guess for one, like I think men don't care as much. I think that's a big part, but it's also like just the awareness of it too.
I could see it in like a whole other perspective. Like this is happening and that's happening.
Yeah.
Like, interesting, man. And I definitely feel like there's a pressure. Like if you're a woman who like doesn't work, like everyone looks down upon you.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can imagine what it's like to be like that.
That is the predominant culture, unfortunately.
And like your parents are yelling at you to go get your degree, and everyone and you bring up the idea of like wanting to do something else, and it's almost like there's so much backlash. Like no,
I don't think it's the parents.
you don't think so?
I don't think it's the parents. I think it's just the peers and everyone online saying you should do this, you need to do this. And I think the parents tell their daughters to go to college primarily just for an education. And I think, yes, it's also in part a job, but I think we want you to get a job, but that's not the end goal. We want you to be, because every parent's end goal for their children is be happy, right? And having a job is basically a temporary stopgap to make sure that you can survive until you find someone and then have a family and be happy.
Or have some stability just in case.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, interesting. It's weird because the reason I brought up the family was because I was sitting last night at Alice Lloyd, grinding out editing number 88 so I can get it to you in time. I did not finish it in time. I got so tired. And there's like this girl sitting like a couple couches down. She was like some Indian girl on the phone with her parents, and her parents are like talking to her, telling her, I can't hear what the parents are saying, but she's like getting mad. She's almost like, dude, why do you want me to be in the top 10%? Like all these people are better than me. Why are you pushing me so hard to do? Like I feel like in certain cultures it might be involved in that too. And it really depends, I guess. But yeah, it's like how do you even deal with that pressure? I feel like guys are just like more carefree, and then like when their life gets fucked up, then they're like, oh, maybe I should change something. You know, that's like literally every single person I talk to that's doing well in life is like, yeah, I mean, I kind of just did what was fun until like I realized I was fat and ugly, and then I just did something about it. When I think girls are a lot better at like, okay, like what is like the social marketplace like, and how do I like adapt so I can make friends and be happy and succeed in it. And guys are just like, let's just do whatever the fuck we feel like doing right now until it's not fun anymore.
Yep.
It's interesting. I think it's really interesting to read about the differences between men and women because I never knew about them until recently. Because I feel like we're fed all this information that we're like identical or like treat everyone the same, and I don't know why it's interesting to think about evolution for humans in general. That
Mhm.
like almost everything, the reason we are the way we are is explained so much by just evolution and science, which is really insane to think about. Like just thinking about the neurotransmitters in my body and all this
Yeah.
shit. It's really interesting to read. And then you go in the next chapter of like how it's like become different for different kinds of the same animal almost.
Yeah.
It's like that shit to me is pretty fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought about, the thought that you should treat everyone the same, and it's like, if I've seen a couple videos of like trans men or trans women after they transitioned into trans men, so women transition into men, and after they become a man, then they realize it's like it's all nice to say, treat everyone the same. It's like you don't actually want that. Like you don't understand how it is. Like I don't understand what it's like to be a girl, and a woman doesn't understand what it's like to be a man either. And it's like we don't want the same things. We don't want equal treatment. We want a certain type of treatment.
That's different.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely true. The whole trans thing is a mess, man.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe that an individual person would genuinely want to be a different gender. I just can't believe it. Outside of social pressure.
That's the thing, because I think that a lot of a lot of people who identify as trans, it's very highly correlated that they're autistic.
Really?
Yes. Especially in women.
Wow. What's the reason? What's the connection there?
So basically, typically when you're autistic, you are more socially isolated, and the thing with the trans movement is that it's become popular now, and
It's like the victim culture.
sort of, it's like
Okay.
I feel lonely.
But this is a community.
Yes, this is a group that like will take me in pretty much.
That makes sense.
And it was very similar to the past of, in the past it was correlated with anorexia was also correlated with autism as well. And so it seemed
What's anorexia?
anorexia is basically believing that you're too fat, even though you might be like you might be a skeleton, like literally.
Yeah, I know that. I know we've talked about that before. Yeah, man. I mean, I just think that as kids, we'd say like stupid shit all the time. Like, I just have this something like random memories just stick in your brain.
Yeah.
I remember we were just like playing outside, like my home. Like one of the girls that we were like running around was just like, you know what, I want to be a guy, and then kids say that type of shit all the time.
Oh yeah.
And then we grow up, and then it's like we're all happy and just fulfilled in
Yeah.
who we are.
Like I thought I was a girl.
Really?
Like I thought like, bro, I swear, for a good couple months in middle school or elementary school, I thought I was like, I am so different from the other boys in my class. I think I might be a girl.
No way.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. As kids, like, we don't know what the fuck's happening. You're going through puberty then, and you're like, body dysmorphia is natural if you're in puberty.
Yeah.
Like, it's just normal. And now the attitude is like, if you have body dysmorphia, if you're a 3-year-old who says I want to be a guy, immediately go to the operation room.
Yeah.
And don't even tell your parents about it.
Yeah.
Bro, if a 3-year-old, if a 10-year-old can't drink and can't make big life decisions for themselves, they should not be able to decide whether they should be a different gender.
Yeah.
Without even their parents' consent.
Yeah,
That's insane.
Yeah, probably the most influential decision you could ever make in your life.
And there's no going back.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
Yeah,
You're fucked.
yeah.
It's crazy, man. All in patting themselves on the back, thinking that this is what the correct thing to do. This is a good thing to do. Like I was almost driving insane. I was in the USB yesterday. I had lecture there, and then I went upstairs to do some work on my Euchre project for X280 upstairs, and there's this lady working behind the desk, and some guy was trying to print something out of the printer, and the printer broke, and it was kind of funny. Like for the next hour, she's like on this mission of fixing this printer. And it was pretty fun to watch. She's like making all these phone calls. Like it's almost like she's like some high government official taking care of some serious operations. Like, hey, thanks for checking in. Like, here's the current status on the printer. And like for like the next hour, where I'm just watching people come in, inspecting it, trying. It's like, so this is what I've tried so far. Like she's on a mission to fix this printer. It's funny, but what I noticed about her, she would like call everyone as they them, everyone, because she didn't want to assume their gender, and it was driving me insane. He's like, yeah, let me just ask them real quick. Yeah, this is what they said over and over again every time, and I'm like, I get it. Like you want to be like a nice person, and you want to tell yourself you're a nice person. So you hear society telling you this is what you have to do to be a nice person. So it's almost like appealing to you that if I call everyone they them, then I'm not assuming their gender, so I'm a nice person. And I think that I'm not saying that anything she did was wrong, but I think if you extrapolate that, that's the incentives behind these people. That a lot of them genuinely think they're just being nice people, and they look at anyone else who's not following that you're a bad person. I think that whole moral standard is a little bit messed up.
Yeah. I mean, people want to be nice. They don't want to be kind. And the difference is that if a kind person, well, I mean, they can be used interchangeably, but this differentiation I learned from Layla Hormozi.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah. And so in their businesses, they say, don't be nice, be kind. And that be kind enough to be able to tell the person the bad news because you're looking out for them, not for the short-term good feels that a nice person would.
So like being nice is doing it for like the social gain you get, versus being kind is like actually caring about the other person and doing what is in their best interest.
Yeah.
Because we say so all the time, being nice, not kind.
Yeah.
I do it too. We all do it. And I think that's one of the hardest things for me. Like whenever I read about someone who never lies, like that value to me is so appealing. You know, like I used to watch Lucifer when I was like in middle school, rotting away.
Yeah.
Like Lucifer never lies. Like that was so appealing to me as a young kid. You know, and I read this fairy tale right now, for my German fairy tales class about Beauty and the Beast. Like Snow White never lies.
Yep.
And whenever I read it, like I get so emotionally charged by it. Like I can't describe how emotionally charged I get it because it's so like I look at that and I'm like, that's how I want to live.
Yeah.
But then it's so hard to do in practice. You can't always do it.
I mean, I'd argue that you can. It just...
Is it worth it though all the time?
Well, that's the thing, because Jordan Peterson says that if you want an adventure, always tell the truth.
I've tried to get better at it. And I think there are moments where like there's definitely moments where I could easily lie, or I can just tell the truth. And I've definitely leaned toward telling the truth more.
Yeah.
But sometimes like you just care about someone's feelings too much to tell them the truth.
Yeah. And it's like, well, that's the thing, right? Are the feelings worth the downstream effects?
Sometimes it is. If it's a minor thing. Sometimes it isn't. For the most part, I lean to the truth. But
it's also like, what are you teaching them? Right? You are willing to sacrifice telling them the truth for their emotions. Which means that they can manipulate you. Which means that you're untrustworthy.
Yes, but I agree for the most part. But I think in certain contexts, like, we're just pushing it too far. Like, someone that you might not even be that close to, but just for the small sake of it in the moment, like, you can just be like, you can make... I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, like, on the other side of it, I hate it. You know, when people do it to me, I hate it. When I just know that you're not busy tonight, like, you just don't want to do the podcast, as an example. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, I've done, like, 90 of these, that it doesn't bother me when someone doesn't want to do it. Because I know there's a million reasons why people don't want to do it. But when they make up excuses why they don't want to do it, that pisses me off. But I get it. Like, they don't want to hurt my feelings, you know. Yeah. And I respect people who just tell me the truth. Who are like, they don't want to do it. Like, I've had people who are like, oh, sure, man, that sounds like a great idea. Let's schedule it. The day of, they're calling me, sorry, man, I'm feeling sick. Let's reschedule it. Sorry, man, I can't do it today. Something came up, over and over again. And I think I've gotten better at reading, like, who genuinely doesn't want to do it for a different reason, but people who don't want to do it, but then they make up excuses why. Yeah. They're like, oh, sorry, man, can't do it anymore at the last minute. That pisses me off a lot. Yeah. And I think, for the most part, I agree with you. I think truth is important, and, like, I can handle the truth, so I'm sure other people can handle it too. But I guess really determining the context. But it's a hard one.
Yeah, it's hard, yeah.
Hi, Andrew. It's a good, fun conversation. Got through a lot of shit. But any final comments, thoughts?
I'm thinking back on, remember when people used to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
Say it again slower.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Yeah. Right? Where did that go?
Sticks and stones may break my bones.
Because I think that if we had a little more of that in this current culture, things would be better.
It's a good quote. Yeah. I'll put it on the wall. I agree with you, man. I feel like every conversation we had today is somehow related to, like, the playing around with words. You know, trying to gain either social status or political status through word games and interpreting people's feelings. And, you know, whether it's the conversation of people attacking Trump or the conversation of feminism or the conversation we finished off with, I think the truth is what matters the most at the end of the day with everything. And I guess really as a culture of, like, leaning toward the truth over these political games that never go anywhere besides create more noise and mess. Yeah. One more thing I want to talk to you about before we close. I'm like really happy with the podcast going.
Yeah.
As a member of my team, I want to ask you for some personal advice. I think one of the things that pisses me off the most about the podcast. Taylor, you want to pull up the podcast on YouTube real quick? It's a minor thing that can be fixed easily, but I don't know how to do it yet. So if you go to the channel, it's so messy because like I can't like stick to anything in terms of like a style. Like if you go to like the channel, like if you go to videos, like like these two videos right here, like 87 and 86 will follow like this completely different styles, and then this one style was like doing fine. Then I just throw in a thumbnail like I just feel like, do you feel like it's all over the place, or do you feel like I kind of want like a clean? I feel like most other YouTubers I look at, like they have a very consistent style, but sometimes I just feel like it doesn't fit, you know. Yeah. And I just don't know like what I should lean toward more as a style. Like I feel like that 1-star gym thumbnail, like I couldn't think of a way to fit the other template into it, but then it just looks so different than everything else. And then one video is talking about a 1-star gym, one's talking about Sam Altman, one's talking about the fall off of a rapper. Like they're all over the place. Yeah. But the content I can't really change much because it's how I do it. But at least the thumbnail wallpapering style. I don't know if there's something that I should stick to. What are your thoughts on that side?
So I mean, I think that. I think that's still pretty early. So I think that you might still be like searching for a particular style that you think is like universal. So I mean, I think maybe keep going experimenting. And it's also like because the channel is like so like all encompassing pretty much. It's like you go from like the most random topics. So I mean, I think it's okay.
You think it's fine?
Yeah, because I mean, it's like because the primary purpose or the primary goal of the channel right now is growth. Right, it's like the thing with like the bigger podcasts, they already like have their big audience, and they're still growing, right? But like, primarily they are serving their audience now. But whereas this isn't the same case.
I think I agree with you. Yeah, I mean now that I'm looking at it, like there is kind of a consistent style to it. Like I use that black. If you scroll up, like the black light background all the way to the top, like kind of like the one we need to save your education over there, that kind of style I've stuck with. The future of healthcare to now, I've stuck with that style now for the most part. I just think that in some videos, like I feel like it would hit the algorithm better if I did a different thumbnail, right? If you scroll up, like the one I did with I bet the creator of ChatGPT, I just felt like if I put someone's face, that would do better than the other style, than putting Connor's face or something, right? More realistic, and I mean that wouldn't develop the algorithm. Then other videos, like if you scroll up, is the University of Michigan overrated? I feel like that thumbnail would probably be more likely than a different thumbnail, you know. So I guess you're right, just playing around with it, and it's kind of leaning back into this style, to fall back on. But
I mean, there is the feature where you can test different thumbnails.
Yeah, I've used it a couple times.
You can definitely use it.
Is there one that jumps out to you?
In terms of thumbnails?
Yeah, or style wise or advice wise for constructing these.
I think that having the borders around like any text is good.
Yeah,
I think
the
that
87 standard. What no one tells you. Yeah.
I think with 84, like having like the rectangle, it feels like a little too much.
The thing is, it looks so weird because the Baruah podcast logo was right in the middle of it. It was pissing me off. I tried so hard, but I do agree with you. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
So I think either drop shadow or border for your for your text.
I like the white black one for what no one tells you. That one stands out a lot.
Yeah.
It's easier to read it.
Yeah. Have you tried using drop shadow instead?
I don't think I have. I'll play around with it.
Yeah. So like it gives like a different pop.
Okay.
It gives a more 3D type of view rather than simply just standing out.
Cool. I'll play around with that too. By the way, for the biggest fall off in rap history, I tried so hard to make it look good with the like a decline thing. It looks so bad.
Yeah, I thought
like,
about that.
Like an hour.
Like, yeah,
I spent like an hour trying to fix it. I couldn't come up with anything better.
Yeah, it might just
But yeah, appreciate your advice, and I hope you've enjoyed working on the team so far.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to put a lot of time into this and hopefully make it something.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I'm basically just, my job is very nice. I just listen through things, and if things pop out to me, I just write them down.
Yeah, and I really like watching podcasts, so I hope this is up to par.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think this will be fun. A lot of ideas in the work, and hopefully keep growing our team. Taylor's been a great addition. Thank you for coming out, as always. But yeah, man, what other advice do you have in general for making this better, making the best it can be. I feel like production's increased a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any of those mic problems. I don't have any of those. Episode 1, man. Ian Borges. Sometimes I forget there's like 90 of these. Like I had so many of these in my old school.
Mm.
If you watch this, like, look at the production and stuff. Like go to Nolan Dehan, episode 2. Click on it. See the production is just so.
Nolan Dehan. How are you? Doing well.
I literally had a stack of books, bro. I had a camera on top, a phone on top of it. I'm taking the audio from it. What if you talk about this? Yo, go to the timestamps.
Yeah, this is a room that they built last year actually. So my first 2 years getting campus here, but when they did like, a whole renovation of all this
Shit's funny.
I don't know, what's that sound in the back?
It's like the AC, bro.
The AC.
They don't have mics, dude. The mics are the best.
Yeah, I went there.
Dude, Magnus Carlsen was on Joe Rogan.
Magnus Carlsen?
He's like the chess player, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I get everyone back here. Yeah.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah.
Have a good day, man.
You too.
So